Well, good morning. Welcome to Capitol Download. All right, Susan, the Conservative Political Action Conference is happening this coming week here in Washington. We know this tends to cater to the rightest of right-wing Republicans, but we get the sense from your conversation that perhaps that's beginning to shift a bit.
Well, Derek, we know that the room is still going to be full of conservative activists. The question is, how pragmatic are they prepared to be to take back the White House? I spoke with Matt Schlapp, the chairman of the American Conservative Union, the organization that sponsors CPAC. After 2 terms of President Obama, he was most concerned about how the GOP could win in 2016. Let's take a look.
There's this old William F. Buckley rule: pick the most conservative person who can also win. And I think that's the mindset of conservatives today.
So Jeb Bush has said that it's important to you may have to lose the primary to win the general. And some people could say that's directed at conservative activists like those at CPAC. Do you think it is?
Well, I'm interested to hear what Jeb Bush actually says at CPAC. For conservatives, if you can show the economic need for immigration, I think that they can be convinced that there are steps that need to be taken. I think they do understand that the current process is completely broken. Government has screwed up the immigration process. Nobody's endorsing the way it works now. But give a real economic reason for the need to pass something. They'll be open to listening to that.
You were a political director at the White House for George W. Bush during his re-election campaign.
That's right.
He did pretty well among Latino voters.
He did.
Do you worry about where the party has gone when it comes to Hispanic voters since then?
Yeah, I just think generally, when I look at the presidential campaign, Republicans haven't won in a big victory since 1988. It's been a very long time, almost a generation, since we've had a landslide victory for the presidency. And the Republican Party has to reach out to all kinds of voters, not just Hispanic voters, all kinds of new American voters, Asian voters, other folks who are racial minorities. There's no question. I mean, the demographics, it's a mathematical equation. Our presidential strategy has to be about multiplication and addition. It cannot be about simply trying to optimize your support in demographics where we're already strong. Yes, you want to do that, but you've got to reach out to these other areas.
There was a controversy in recent years at CPAC over the participation of gay rights groups and Republican gay rights groups. Is this an issue that really divides your coalition between the libertarians who say, I don't care what your sexual orientation is, and the social conservatives who see homosexuality and especially gay marriage as something that is very much to be opposed?
Conservatives are very diverse. The whole program is diverse. If you come to CPAC and really listen to the debates and the conversations on the stage, it's all about conservative disagreements on things. And one of those areas is the question of gay rights. But let me just be very clear, as I've been chairman for the last 6 months, I want to make it really clear that gay conservatives should feel comfortable to come to CPAC. Libertarians play an important role in this coalition. We don't have enough people in the center-right to start excluding people from that coalition. They all need to feel welcome. We need to pull together on the things that we agree with. Same thing is true on these social and cultural issues. There are disagreements. Disagreements are healthy. Fundamentally, have we looked at the last 6 years of the Obama administration, and do we see how bad it would be to follow it at the end of its 8 years with 4 more years? And I think conservatives realize what a disaster that would be for the country, and they're going to think about the ways in which we agree and not so much the ways in which we disagree.
That's so interesting. And you know, there was an NBC Marist polls that came out just a couple days ago that found that about half of likely Republican caucus voters and likely Republican primary voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina say opposition to gay marriage is unacceptable to them.
Right.
We've seen big changes in the nation generally when it comes to the issue of gay marriage. Changes also among conservatives?
Yeah, absolutely. ACU as a group is going to stand up for a traditional marriage. We're going to stand up for the sanctity of unborn life. But at the same time, we have to understand that our political coalition has to be realistic, and we have to broaden it, and we have to win. Not winning in politics in a democracy is everything. If you don't win the elections, you don't get to have the votes for the public policy you want. And I think conservatives really do, they understand that.
As a political strategist, tell me, do you think George W. Bush is a political asset or a liability for Jeb Bush?
I know, having worked for President Bush, that he is close to his brother Jeb, and my guess is what you're going to see from George W. Bush with Jeb's campaign is a lot like what you've seen of him as a former president. You will not hear very much from him, and that will be purposeful.
You worked for Koch Industries as well, and last month the Koch brothers network announced plans to spend almost $1 billion
Yeah.
in the lead up to the 2016
Well, that's not very
elections.
much if you consider that both of them together are worth almost $100 billion, right? So think about it, put it in perspective.
I think to the rest of us, $1 billion sounds like a lot.
That's
Do you have
right.
any concerns about the impact of all this money on the political process?
Well, first of all, I think they should be applauded for putting their money where their mouth is. Here's the fact. There's a lot of billionaires on the right and on the left who think they're going to be able to spend enough money to buy the presidency. Here's one thing I'm confident of. They will fail. It is more important for candidates to court activists in Iowa, both on the Democrat side and the Republican side, than it is for them to sit around in boardrooms in Manhattan. People around this country, activists, will determine who our president is. Money will matter. Money is a huge part of it. But money alone will not get it done. You see all these candidates that are self-funders. They fail over and over and over again. Mitt Romney had huge resources. He failed for the presidency twice. Money alone does not get you there. It's one of the great things about American democracy.
All right, Schlapp's certainly right about one thing. Message matters, right? Maybe more than money, but if you don't have money, you're not going to get your message out there.
Yeah, try running a campaign without money. It's not going to work. On the other hand, you've got to connect with voters. You have to connect with activists in those early states.
All right, you need both for sure. All right, after the break, we're going to be talking about the power of money in campaigns and the news of this political week with two journalists in our Reporters Roundtable. We'll see you then.